You're a worthless old fool who never amounted to anything. Brad said it loud enough that 3 tables heard him. We were at some steakhouse downtown, the kind with cloth napkins and waiters in vests. My daughter Emma sat beside him. Didn't say a word. Just looked at her plate like the pattern on the china had suddenly become fascinating. I'd made the mistake of suggesting he might want to reconsider the Tesla, the 3rd one in 2 years. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The waiter froze mid-pour, water glass in his hand. I could see him trying to decide whether to pretend he hadn't heard or offer to move us to a different section. Brad, Emma's voice barely reached across the table. Not defending me, just worried about the scene. What? It's true. Brad leaned back in his chair, swirled his whiskey like he was in a commercial. Your dad spent his whole life in what? Maintenance? Fixing air conditioners? He said it like I'd spent 40 years cleaning septic tanks. Building engineering, I said. Kept my voice level. Climate control systems. Right. Blue-collar work. He smiled. The kind of smile that wasn't a smile at all. Which is fine, honest work and all that. But maybe don't lecture me about financial planning when you've never made more than, what, 60 grand a year? Emma cut her steak. Didn't look up. I'd paid for this dinner. That detail seemed relevant. Brad, maybe we should... Emma started. I'm just saying. Brad turned to her. His voice got softer but somehow more cruel. Your dad means well. But he comes from a different generation. A different level. He doesn't understand how money works at our scale. Our scale. Brad worked in pharmaceutical sales. Made about $140,000 a year plus bonuses. Good money. Nothing to sneeze at, but the way he said, our scale, made it sound like he was negotiating mergers in Geneva. Dad, Emma finally looked at me, her eyes pleading. Not for Brad to stop, for me to let it go. Maybe we should just talk about something else. I'd given them $85,000 for the down payment on their house, 18 months ago. Emma had cried when I handed her the check, said I was saving their lives. The market was crazy. They'd been outbid on 4 other places. This was their dream home. Brad had shaken my hand, called me a lifesaver. Apparently, that purchased about a year and a half of basic civility. Sure. I set down my fork. What would you like to talk about? Actually, Brad finished his whiskey, signaled the waiter for another. Since we're here, Emma and I wanted to discuss something with you. Here it comes, I thought. The house needs some work. Foundation issues. The inspector missed it. Brad's second whiskey arrived. He didn't thank the waiter. We're looking at about 30 grand in repairs. Emma's face went red. Brad, not now. When then? He's here. Brad looked at me. Look, I know it's a lot, but you said you wanted to help us build our future. This is part of that. We can't build anything if the foundation's literally crumbling. I'd paid for the inspection, $600. Supposedly the best guy in the county. When did you discover this? I asked. Last week. Guy came out to look at some cracks in the basement. And the repair quote? Got it Friday. Brad pulled out his phone. Didn't hand it to me. Just turned the screen so I could see a PDF. Some contractor's letterhead. $32,400 for foundation work. I didn't reach for the phone. Didn't lean in to look closer. That's a significant amount, I said. Right. Which is why we thought maybe you could take out a HELOC on your place. Your house is paid off, right? My house. The one Sarah and I bought in 1979. 3-bedroom ranch in a neighborhood that used to be modest but had gotten expensive as the city grew around it. The house where I'd carried Sarah over the threshold. Where we'd brought Emma home from the hospital. Where Sarah had died in our bedroom with hospice nurses checking her morphine drip every 4 hours. You want me to take out a loan against my house, I said. Or liquidate something. You've got that retirement account, right? Brad's voice took on this helpful quality, like he was doing me a favor by explaining my options. You could pull from that. I know there's penalties if you're not 59 and a half yet, but you're what, 70? 68. so you can withdraw without penalties. It's basically sitting there. Money should work for you, right? The retirement account had $2.4 million in it. Emma didn't know that. She knew I had some savings. She knew I'd retired comfortably. That was about it. "I'll think about it," I said. Brad's face changed. The helpful expression evaporated. "You'll think about it." "That's what I said." "Dad." Emma reached across the table. Didn't quite touch my hand. "We really need this. The contractor says if we don't fix it soon, we could be looking at structural damage. It could get a lot more expensive." The thing about foundation problems is they don't appear overnight. They develop over years. Any inspector worth his fee would have caught significant issues, but I didn't say that. "I understand," I said. "I need to review my finances." Brad laughed. Actually laughed. "Your finances? Jesus Christ." He drained half his second whiskey. "Emma, this is what I'm talking about. Your dad acts like 30 grand is this huge impossible amount. Meanwhile, he's sitting on a house worth probably 300,000 and a pension and his savings." He made air quotes around savings. "But he has to review his finances like he's Warren Buffett deciding whether to buy a company." "Brad," Emma's voice had an edge now. "Stop. I'm just being real. Your dad's proud, I get it. But pride doesn't fix a foundation. And honestly," Brad leaned forward, "honestly, I'm getting tired of pretending his input matters on financial decisions he doesn't understand. You're a worthless old fool who never amounted to anything, and I'm done acting like your advice has value." There it was again, louder this time. The table next to us, two couples in their 50s, went quiet. The woman closest to us put down her wineglass carefully, like she thought it might shatter. Emma stood up. "I need to use the restroom." She walked away, left me sitting there with her husband. Brad watched her go, then turned back to me. "Look," his voice dropped. "Confidential now. I love Emma. You know that, but she's too soft on you. You're bleeding us dry with your needs." "My needs?" "The Sunday dinners. The calls where Emma spends an hour listening to you talk about Sarah. The birthday visits where we have to drive 2 hours each way because you refuse to move closer." Brad ticked them off like expenses on a ledger. "Emma won't say it, but it's exhausting. And expensive. Gas isn't cheap. Our time isn't cheap." I'd hosted exactly 4 Sunday dinners in the last year. They'd canceled on 3. "I see," I said. "I don't think you do. We're building something. A life. A future. We've got career opportunities. Investment properties we're looking at. We're moving up, and every time we turn around, there's some crisis with you. Some need. Some guilt trip about how we don't visit enough. I haven't asked you for anything. Your existence is asking. That's the thing old people don't get. You're this constant weight. This obligation. And Emma's too loyal to tell you the truth." He said it matter-of-factly, like he was explaining that water flows downhill. "The truth being that you had your chance, your life. You worked your little job, married your wife, raised your kid. That's done now. This is our time. And you need to either help us move forward or get out of the way." My jaw tightened. I felt it in my chest, that hot, focused feeling, like looking through a scope. "And the 30,000? I kept my voice level. "Would be a good start. Show that you're invested in our success, that you get it." Brad finished his whiskey. "But honestly, the way you're acting about it tells me everything I need to know. You're selfish. You're clinging to whatever little pile you've scraped together because you're scared. And you're willing to let your daughter's house literally crumble because you can't see past your own fear." Emma came back, makeup fixed, eyes a little red. "Ready to order?" She smiled like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just abandoned me to her husband's contempt. I ordered the salmon, barely tasted it. Brad talked about a conference he was going to, Vegas, some pharmaceutical sales leadership summit. His company was sending their top performers. He'd be networking with some major players, maybe meet some executives, make some connections that could really move his career forward. "My boss is going," Brad said. Guy named Richard Caldwell, regional VP. He's the one who could really open doors for me. If I impress him at this conference, I'm talking promotion. Maybe 6 figures base, not including bonuses. Emma smiled. That's amazing, honey. Caldwell knows everyone in the industry. 30 years in pharma. He's got contacts at every major company. Guy's a legend. Brad leaned back. That's the kind of person I need to be learning from. Not... He stopped himself. Almost said it again. Dessert came. I paid. $340 for dinner, plus tip. Brad didn't reach for his wallet. Didn't say thank you. We should do this again soon, Brad said as we walked to the parking lot. Maybe next month. There's this new place that just opened. Supposed to be incredible. Really up a scale. Maybe, I said. Emma hugged me, quick and tight. Thanks for dinner, Dad. Love you, Emma. Love you too. She pulled back. And we'll figure out the foundation thing. Don't worry about it tonight. But her eyes said, please, figure it out soon. I drove home. 45 minutes through highway traffic. My house sat dark. I'd left the porch light on, but the bulb had burned out. I made a mental note to replace it, then realized I'd been making that same mental note for 3 weeks. Inside smelled like old coffee and the lavender Sarah used to keep in bowls around the house. The scent had faded to almost nothing, but sometimes in the evening I could still catch it. I sat at the kitchen table, the one Sarah and I picked out at an estate sale 30 years ago, solid maple. The woman selling it said it had been her parents'. They'd raised 5 kids around this table. Now it was just me. I opened my laptop, checked my email. 3 messages from Emma over the last week, all about the foundation, forwarding me the contractor quote. An article about foundation problems. A text that said, Dad, I'm really worried about this. Can we talk soon? No messages before that for 2 weeks. I pulled up my banking app, looked at the checking account, then the investment accounts, the retirement funds, $2.4 million in the IRA, $1.8 million in the brokerage account, $340,000 in cash and CDs. The house worth probably $480,000 now. Some analyst from Zillow kept sending me letters saying developers were buying up the neighborhood. $5.2 million, give or take. Emma knew I'd retired early. Knew I was comfortable. That's the word I'd used. Comfortable. She didn't know I'd founded a company in 1985, Commercial HVAC Systems. Started it in my garage with $12,000 in savings and a patent for an energy-efficient climate control system I'd designed. She didn't know I'd sold that company in 2014 for $34 million. Well, she knew I'd worked in building engineering. That was technically true. She knew I'd done pretty well. Also true. She didn't know Forbes had run a profile on me in 2013. The blue-collar innovator. How a maintenance worker built a climate control empire. I'd kept the magazine. It was in a box in the garage somewhere. Sarah had bought 5 copies, sent them to relatives, made me pose for photos holding it like I'd won something. I'd been proud then, embarrassed, but proud. Now I pulled up the article online. Forbes kept its archives. There I was, 60 years old in the photo. Standing in front of one of our installations, hair less gray. Sarah still alive. The article detailed the whole story. The patent, the first commercial contract, growing to 40 employees, then 200, opening offices in 6 states, the sale to Johnson Controls for $34 million. I never forgot where I came from, I'd told the reporter. I still fix things around my house, still drive the same truck I bought in 1998. The money's nice, but the work was what mattered. The reporter had eaten that up, written 3 paragraphs about my humble roots and Midwestern values. Brad thought I'd spent 40 years making $60 grand a year fixing air conditioners. Emma had never asked for details, never wanted to know about the company. She'd been in college when it was growing, focused on her art history degree, then her master's, then her marriage to Brad. She'd invited me to the wedding. Front row. I'd paid for half. $28,000. Brad's parents paid the other half. Brad had shaken my hand, said I was generous. Emma had hugged me during the father-daughter dance, whispered, "Thank you for everything." Then they'd moved 3 hours away. Brad's job, better opportunities in the city. Sunday dinners stopped. Holidays became complicated. Phone calls got shorter. 2 years ago, Emma had called crying. They'd been trying to buy a house. The market was insane. They kept getting outbid. Their apartment lease was ending. She didn't know what to do. "How much do you need?" I'd asked. "Dad, I can't ask you." "How much, Emma?" $85,000. For 20% down. If we put down less, the PMI kills us, and we can't compete with cash offers. I'd transferred it the next day. She'd cried on the phone, said I'd changed their lives. Brad had sent a text. "You're a lifesaver, Walter. We won't forget this." 18 months later, he'd called me a worthless old fool. Twice. In public. I closed the laptop, sat in the kitchen. The clock ticked. Same clock that had been on that wall for 30 years. Sarah's choice. She'd liked the wooden frame. My phone buzzed. "Emma. Thanks again for dinner, Dad. Sorry if Brad was intense. He's stressed about work. Love you." Not sorry he called me worthless. Sorry he was intense. I typed back, "Love you too." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Did you get a chance to think about the foundation thing?" It was 10:47 p.m. Dinner had ended 90 minutes ago. "Still reviewing," I typed. The dots appeared for a long time. Then, "Okay, let me know soon. The contractor wants to start in 3 weeks." I set down the phone. The house settled around me. Old houses make noises, especially at night. The furnace clicking on. Floorboards. Adjusting to temperature changes. The sound of a structure that stood for decades slowly becoming part of the earth. I'd designed climate control systems for hospitals, office buildings, manufacturing plants, systems that kept rooms at exact temperatures, that filtered air to surgical standards, that saved companies millions in energy costs. Forbes had called me an innovator, a pioneer. The article had been syndicated, picked up by 3 other business magazines. Brad thought I was a maintenance worker who'd never amounted to anything. My daughter hadn't corrected him. I went to bed in the room where Sarah died. Same bed. I'd thought about replacing it, moving to one of the other bedrooms, but this was where we'd slept for 38 years. Changing it felt like admitting she was really gone. The sheets were cold. They were always cold now. I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing Brad's face. That smile when he said worthless. The casual way he delivered it. Like he'd been thinking it for years and finally decided to say it out loud. The way Emma had looked at her plate. Around 2 a.m. I got up, went to the garage, found the box labeled Office Personal, dug through old performance reviews, birthday cards from colleagues, the plaque from the Chamber of Commerce, found the Forbes issue. The cover showed 3 entrepreneurs. I was on the bottom right, smaller photo, but there. The blue-collar innovator in white text across my chest. I had been proud. Sarah had been proud. Now I stood in my garage at 2 in the morning, holding a magazine and thinking about my daughter's husband calling me worthless. I went back inside, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table until sunrise. Monday morning, my phone rang. Emma. "Hey, Dad, did you get a chance to look at your accounts?" "Good morning, Emma." "Right. Sorry. Good morning. How are you?" "I'm fine. How are you?" "Good. Busy. Work is crazy." She taught part-time at a community college, art history, 2 classes a semester. "So, about the foundation?" "I'm still reviewing my situation." Silence. Then, "Dad, it's been 3 days. These things take time. It's looking at a bank statement and deciding if you can spare $30,000. It doesn't take time. It takes 5 minutes. Her voice had an edge. Brad's influence. She never used to talk to me like that. "Emma, Dad, our house is falling apart. The contractor says we need to move fast, or we're looking at structural damage. Real damage. The kind that could make the house unlivable. Has the contractor provided references? What? References. Other jobs he's done. Before and after photos. Reviews. Jesus Christ, Dad. Yes, he's legitimate. He's licensed and bonded and has 1,000,000 five-star reviews. This is real. I'd like to see the inspection report, the one that identified the problem. Why? Because I'd like to understand what needs to be fixed. Dad, her voice went tight. Brad was right. You're stalling because you're scared of spending money. But this is your grandkid's home. This is Emma's home. And you're acting like we're trying to scam you. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Asking for references, for reports, like we're strangers who walked up and asked for a handout. She was crying now. I could hear it. After everything God, Dad, after I've tried so hard to include you, to make sure you're part of our lives, even though it's hard with the distance, and you can't do this one thing? Emma, forget it. We'll figure it out ourselves, like we always do. She hung up. I stared at my phone. The screen went dark. Showed my reflection. Old man, gray hair, lines around the eyes. Worthless old fool. I called her back. It rang 4 times. Went to voicemail. Emma, I'm not trying to upset you. I love you. I want to help, but I need to be smart about this. Please send me the inspection report and the contractor's information. I'll review it and we'll talk. I promise. She didn't call back. Tuesday, Brad called. I didn't recognize the number. Answered anyway. Walter, it's Brad. Hello, Brad. Look, I'm calling because Emma's a mess. She's crying. She thinks you don't trust her. That you think we're lying about the foundation. I never said that. You asked for references, like we're con artists. I asked for documentation. That's standard. No. What's standard is helping your daughter when she needs you. What's standard is trusting that when she says her house is falling apart, you believe her. I didn't respond. Emma wanted me to apologize for Saturday, Brad continued, for being harsh. She thinks I hurt your feelings. So fine, I'm sorry, I was blunt. But honestly, Walter, someone needs to be straight with you. I see. You're holding on to this pile of money like it's going to save you from being old and alone. But it won't. You know what will? Being there for your family, being generous, being the kind of father Emma deserves. Is this how you speak to your clients? I asked. What? Your pharmaceutical clients, the doctors who buy your products. Do you tell them they're scared and selfish when they want documentation before making a decision? That's different. How? Because those are business relationships. This is family. So family deserves less consideration? Less documentation? Less thought? Brad's voice went cold. You know what? Do whatever you want. Sit in your little house with your little pile of money. Emma deserves better. She deserves a father who shows up. I paid for dinner Saturday night, I said. What? Dinner. $340. I paid for it. You ordered 2 whiskeys at $18 each, filet mignon at $62, the chocolate cake at $14. You didn't offer to split the check, didn't say thank you. Silence. Is that what this is about? Brad's voice climbed. You're mad about paying for dinner? Jesus Christ, Walter, that's pathetic. I'm not mad. I'm clarifying. You said I need to show up. I'm pointing out that I do, regularly, with my time and my money. You paid for 1 dinner. Congratulations. You want a medal? I gave you $85,000 for your house. And we're grateful. We've said that. But that was a gift. You don't get to hold it over us forever. I'm not holding it over you. I'm reminding you that I have shown up, that I do care, that asking for documentation before providing an additional $30,000 isn't unreasonable. You know what? Emma was right. You've changed since Sarah died. You've become bitter and suspicious and small. The old Walter would have helped without question. This version, Brad laughed. This version counts every dollar and keeps score like we're enemies. Brad, we're done. Figure out your priorities, old man. Because right now you're choosing money over your daughter. And when you're sitting alone in that house wondering why we don't visit, remember this conversation. He hung up. I sat at the kitchen table. Coffee had gone cold. Again. I kept forgetting to drink it before it cooled. My hands shook. Not a lot, just enough to notice. I'd never spoken to my father-in-law the way Brad spoke to me. Never. Even when he'd driven me crazy. Even when he'd given me advice I didn't want. I'd smiled and nodded and said, "Thank you for your thoughts." That was respect. That was how you treated family. I pulled up my email, drafted a message to Emma, explained that I wasn't trying to hurt her, that I loved her, that I just wanted to be careful, deleted it, tried again, said I'd be happy to help but needed some basic information, that this was normal, that any bank would require the same. Deleted that too. Finally typed, "Emma, I love you. I'm here when you want to talk. Dad." She didn't respond. Wednesday morning, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. Jennifer Hollis. Subject line, Foundation Inspection Report, Sullivan Residence. Sullivan, Emma's married name. I opened it. The email was brief. "Mr. Mitchell, Emma asked me to send this to you. I'm her friend and also a licensed contractor. I performed the inspection she mentioned. Attached are my findings and the recommended repairs. If you have questions, feel free to call." The attachment was professional. 12 pages, photos of foundation cracks, measurements, technical details about settling and water damage, recommended repairs with material costs and labor estimates. It looked legitimate. I called the number in the email signature. "Jennifer Hollis. Ms. Hollis, this is Walter Mitchell, Emma Sullivan's father." "Oh, hi." Her voice softened. "Thanks for calling. I reviewed your report. It's thorough. I tried to be detailed. The foundation's not in immediate danger of collapse or anything, but the cracks are significant. They'll get worse if left untreated. Your estimate is $32,000? Correct. That includes materials, labor, and a warranty. I can send you my license and insurance information if you'd like. References, too. That would be helpful? Sure. I'll email it over today." She paused. "Mr. Mitchell, Emma's really upset. She thinks you don't trust her." "I'm trying to be careful." "I get that, but she's your daughter, and she's genuinely scared about this house. She and Brad just bought it. They're stretched thin. This repair is a lot for them." "I understand." "Do you?" Her voice stayed gentle but pointed. "Because from here it looks like you're making her jump through hoops to prove she's not lying to you. That's hard for a kid, even an adult kid. Ms. Hollis, I'm not trying to overstep. Emma talks about you a lot. She loves you. She's worried that since her mom passed, you've pulled away, that you're depressed and maybe not thinking clearly. This whole thing is just making her worry more." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly." "Okay, good. Then maybe just help her. She's your daughter. She needs you." "I appreciate your concern." "Right, well, I'll send those documents. Have a good day, Mr. Mitchell." She hung up. I sat with that. Emma had friends who thought I was depressed, who thought I wasn't thinking clearly. She was laying groundwork, building a narrative. Maybe she didn't realize she was doing it. Maybe Brad was pushing her, or maybe I'd become the problem she discussed over wine with friends. The difficult father, the sad widower who couldn't let go. The documents arrived an hour later. Everything checked out. Jennifer Hollis was licensed, insured, had a portfolio of completed projects. Reviews were solid. The foundation work was real. I transferred $30,000 to Emma's account. Then I called her. She answered on the first ring. "Dad?" "The money's in your account." "Oh my God, Dad, thank you so much." She was crying, relief. "I'm so sorry I got upset. We were so stressed, and Brad said," "It's fine, Emma. It's not fine. I shouldn't have snapped at you. You were being smart. Careful. That's good. I'm glad you reviewed everything. I love you, Emma. I love you too, Dad. So much." She sniffled. "We'll pay you back, I promise. Once Brad gets his promotion and things settle down, we'll pay you back." We both knew that wouldn't happen. But I said, "Okay. Can we come visit soon? Maybe next month. I want you to see the house once the repairs are done. You can meet Jennifer. She's great. I'd like that. Okay, good. I'll text you some dates. She paused. Thanks, Dad. Really. You saved us. Anytime, Emma. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. The house quiet around me. $115,000 I'd given them now. The down payment, the foundation, not counting dinners and birthday checks and the new tires I'd bought when Emma said their car was making a noise. Emma said they'd pay me back, but we both knew the truth. This was money I'd never see again. That was fine. I didn't need it. I had plenty. What bothered me was Brad's face. The contempt, the certainty that I was worthless. The way Emma had let him say it. Let him sit there and call her father worthless, and then asked me for $30,000 3 days later. I went to the garage, found another box. This one labeled Company, Final. Inside were documents from the sale. Contracts. Wire transfer confirmations. Letters from Johnson Controls welcoming me to their family of innovators. Also a letter from the Forbes reporter. Handwritten. Thanking me for the interview. Saying my story had inspired him. You proved that innovation doesn't require an MBA or venture capital, he'd written. Just vision and work ethic. That's the American dream right there. I'd kept the letter because Sarah had cried when she read it, said she was proud of me. Now I held it and thought about Brad saying I'd never amounted to anything. 3 weeks passed. Emma texted photos of the foundation work. Jennifer and her crew digging around the perimeter. New concrete poured. Waterproofing installed. It looks so much better, Dad. Jennifer says it's solid now. Should last 50 years. Brad didn't call, didn't text thank you. Nothing. I didn't expect him to. Then, on a Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Emma again. Dad! Oh my God, you're not going to believe this. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something amazing happened. She was breathless, excited. Brad got invited to this huge conference in Chicago next week. His boss is going and he wants Brad to come network with him, meet executives from other companies. This could be huge for his career. That's good. It's better than good. His boss, Richard Caldwell, apparently he's this big deal in pharmaceutical sales, like connected to everyone. And he specifically asked Brad to attend because he thinks Brad has potential. I'm happy for him. There's one thing, though. Her voice shifted. Still excited, but with an edge. The conference is expensive, like $2,000 for the registration, plus hotel, plus food. Brad's company covers some of it, but not all. Here we go. And I know we just asked for the foundation money, and we're so grateful for that. But Dad, this is different. This is an investment in Brad's career. If he impresses Caldwell at this conference, he could get promoted. That's more money for us, more stability. This could change everything. How much do you need? $3,000. To cover registration and the hotel and everything. We can charge it, but we're trying to avoid more debt. I didn't respond. Dad? I'm here. I know it's a lot. Believe me, I know. But this is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often. Brad's been working so hard. He deserves this. Brad, who called me a worthless old fool, who said I'd never amounted to anything, who hung up on me and called me bitter and small. Please, Dad, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I'll transfer it today, I said. Oh, thank God. Thank you. You're the best. She was crying again. I'm sorry we keep needing help. I swear things are going to get better. Once Brad gets this promotion, we'll be stable. We won't have to keep asking. It's fine, Emma. I love you, Dad. Love you too. I transferred $3,000. Then I sat at my computer and did something I hadn't done in years. I Googled myself. The Forbes article came up first, then a few other profiles from business journals. My Wikipedia page, I had a Wikipedia page, with details about the company sale and my patents. Then I found something interesting. A conference, the National Pharmaceutical Sales Leadership Summit. Chicago. Next week. I clicked through. Agenda. Speaker list. Networking sessions. One of the keynote speakers was listed, Walter Mitchell, founder, Mitchell Climate Systems, acquired by Johnson Controls. Topic: From blue-collar innovation to industry leadership. I'd agreed to that keynote 6 months ago, before Sarah died, before I'd stopped caring about public appearances and industry recognition. I'd forgotten about it completely. My contact email was listed. Someone named Patricia had emailed me twice asking me to confirm. I'd ignored both messages. I pulled up my email, found Patricia's messages. Mr. Mitchell, we're so excited to have you speak at our summit. Your story resonates with our audience. Many of our sales leaders come from working-class backgrounds. Can you confirm your attendance? Then, a follow-up 2 weeks ago. Mr. Mitchell, we haven't heard back. We have you scheduled for the keynote on Saturday at 9 a.m. Please confirm or let us know if you need to cancel. We'd hate to lose you. I replied, Patricia, my apologies for the delay. I'll be there. Walter Mitchell. She responded in 10 minutes. Wonderful. We'll see you Saturday. Your speaking fee and travel reimbursement are approved. Hotel details attached. Speaking fee. I'd forgotten about that too. $15,000 plus travel. I booked a flight to Chicago. The conference hotel was downtown, glass and marble lobby, the kind of place that charges $8 for coffee. I checked in Thursday evening. The keynote was Saturday morning, but I wanted time to prepare, shake off rust. Friday, I walked the conference floor. Pharmaceutical salespeople everywhere, name tags and branded lanyards. Everyone networking, trading cards, laughing at jokes that weren't funny because the person telling them might be useful later. I wore khakis and a polo shirt. No name tag. No one looked at me twice. Just another old guy, probably somebody's father visiting the city. I grabbed lunch in the hotel restaurant, sat in a corner booth. That's when I heard his voice. Richard, I'm telling you, this new oncology line is going to kill it in Q4. The clinical trials came back better than expected. Brad, 3 tables away, sitting with an older man in a suit, salt and pepper hair, expensive watch. Had to be Richard Caldwell. I like your optimism, Richard said. But optimism doesn't close deals. What's your strategy for penetrating the research hospitals? They're loyal to Pfizer. Relationships, Brad said. I've been building connections with department heads, taking them to games, dinners, making myself indispensable. That works in community hospitals. Research institutions are different. They want data, publications, proof. Right. Which is why I'm focusing on the early adopters. The department heads who want to be first with new treatments, who want their names on the studies. Richard nodded. Good. That's smart. Brad beamed, soaking up the praise like a plant in sunlight. They kept talking. Brad name-dropping doctors he'd met, deals he'd closed, numbers he'd hit. Richard listened, asked good questions, challenged Brad on a few points. Brad held his own. I'd give him that. He was good at his job, confident without being arrogant, well prepared. He'd done his homework. You've got potential, Richard finally said. You remind me of myself 20 years ago. Hungry, willing to work for it. I learned from the best. Brad's smile was perfect. Not too much, just enough. We'll see how you do this weekend. I'm introducing you to some people, VPs from other regions, maybe a corporate position if you impress them. Richard signaled for the check. This is your shot, Brad. Don't waste it. I won't. I promise. They stood, shook hands. Richard left first. Brad stayed, pulled out his phone, texted someone. I watched him. This man who'd called me worthless, who'd taken my money and my help and decided I was beneath him. He looked happy, energized. This was his element. My phone buzzed. Emma. How are you, Dad? Doing okay? I'm fine. How are you? Good. Missing you. Brad's at his conference. Big opportunity. He's so nervous. I looked at Brad. He didn't look nervous. He looked like he owned the place. I'm sure he'll do great, I typed. I hope so. He's worked so hard for this. Fingers crossed. I put my phone away. Brad finished his coffee, left a $5 bill on the table, walked out. I sat there for another 20 minutes, thinking. Saturday morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. Couldn't sleep. I put on a suit, navy blue, the one I'd worn for Sarah's funeral. It still fit, barely. White shirt, red tie. The tie Emma had given me for Christmas 3 years ago. Polished my shoes. Same shoes I'd worn to sell the company. Leather. Good quality. They'd lasted. I looked at myself in the hotel mirror. Old man in a suit, gray hair, lines. But my eyes were steady. The conference keynote was in the main ballroom. I arrived at 8:30. Patricia met me backstage. "Mr. Mitchell, so good to finally meet you." She shook my hand. Young woman, maybe 30, clipboard and headset. "Your intro is loaded. We've got a great crowd, about 800 people, mostly regional managers and sales directors." "Thank you for having me." "Are you kidding? You're the highlight. Everyone's excited." She handed me a bottle of water. "You'll speak for 40 minutes, then Q&A for 20. Sound good?" "Perfect." "Great. I'll introduce you at 9 sharp." I waited backstage, heard the crowd filing in, voices, laughter, chairs scraping. At exactly 9 a.m., Patricia walked on stage. The crowd quieted. "Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all caffeinated and ready for an incredible keynote." She waited for the polite laughter. "This morning we have someone special, someone whose story embodies the values we talk about in sales. Grit, innovation, the willingness to bet on yourself." I watched from the wings, saw Brad in the 3rd row, Richard Caldwell beside him. "Our speaker started his career as a maintenance worker," Patricia continued. "He fixed air conditioners and boilers, but he saw a problem that no one else saw, and he had an idea." Brad was looking at his phone, half paying attention. "That idea became a patent. That patent became a company, and that company revolutionized commercial climate control systems. In 2014, he sold his company to Johnson Controls for $34 million. Brad's head snapped up. Forbes called him the blue-collar innovator. His systems are in hospitals, universities, and office buildings across North America, and he did it all, starting from nothing. The room went silent, attentive now. "Please welcome to the stage Walter Mitchell." Applause. I walked out. The lights were bright. I couldn't see the crowd clearly, but I could feel them. 800 people focused on me. I found the microphone, adjusted it down, cleared my throat. "Thank you for having me." My voice sounded steady, strong. "I'm going to tell you a story about failure." That got their attention. In 1985, I had an idea. I was 32 years old, working maintenance at a hospital, fixing their HVAC system for the 3rd time that month. Terrible system, always breaking down, costing them a fortune in energy bills. I paused, let them settle in. I thought, there's got to be a better way. So I started sketching designs. Stayed up late, reading engineering journals. Taught myself thermodynamics from library books. Brad was staring at me, face pale. My wife Sarah thought I was crazy. I'd work my shift, come home, eat dinner, then disappear into the garage until midnight, building prototypes, testing systems, failing over and over. I smiled. The first design caught fire, literally, burned up my workbench. Sarah made me install a fire extinguisher. Laughter rippled through the room. The second design worked, kind of. It reduced energy consumption by 15%, but it was loud, sounded like a jet engine. The hospital administrator said no thanks. I took a sip of water. The third design was perfect, 30% more efficient than standard systems. Quiet, reliable. I filed for a patent. Took out a loan against my house. $12,000, every penny we had. The room was dead silent now. I built the first unit in my garage, installed it at a small office building downtown. The owner was skeptical, but he agreed to try it for a month. I paused. Energy bills dropped by 32%. He called everyone he knew, told them about this maintenance guy who'd built a miracle machine. Brad hadn't moved, hadn't blinked. Orders started coming. I quit my job. Hired 3 people. We worked out of that garage for 2 years. Then we moved to a real facility. Hired more people. Got more contracts. I looked directly at Brad. By 1995, we had 40 employees. By 2005, 200. We were installing systems across the country. Hospitals, universities, corporate headquarters, the Pentagon called us, wanted our system for their HVAC upgrade. Richard Caldwell was leaning forward, interested. In 2013, Forbes magazine ran a profile on me. Called me the blue-collar innovator. That article changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just a maintenance worker with a good idea. I was a success story. I smiled. Bitter. Sharp. And in 2014, Johnson Controls offered to buy my company. $34 million. Gasps. Murmurs. The room buzzed. I took it. Retired. Thought I'd spend time with Sarah. Travel. Enjoy life. My voice softened. Sarah died 6 months later. Cancer. We never got to travel. The room went quiet again. Sympathetic now. So, here's what I want you to know. I looked out at all of them. Success isn't about credentials. It's not about where you started or what's on your resume. It's about seeing a problem and refusing to accept that it can't be solved. I paused. It's about working when everyone thinks you're wasting your time. About betting on yourself when no one else will. About building something that matters. I could see Brad's hands gripping the armrests of his chair. People judged me, called me just a maintenance worker. Said I should stay in my lane, leave engineering to the engineers, leave business to the businessmen. I smiled again. But I didn't. And that's why I'm standing here, and they're not. The room erupted in applause. I spoke for another 30 minutes, told stories about building the company, about failures and breakthroughs, about the moment Johnson Controls made their offer, and I realized I'd actually done it. Then Q&A hands shot up. I pointed to a woman in the front. What advice would you give to someone just starting out? Document everything. Keep records. When someone dismisses you or your idea, remember it. Use it as fuel. More hands. What was your biggest mistake? Waiting too long to ask for help. I thought I had to do everything myself. Build every prototype. Make every sale. I almost burned out. Hiring good people saved me. I pointed to the back, a young man in his 20s. Do you have any regrets? I thought about that. Yes, I regret not sharing more with my family. I was so focused on building the company that I didn't explain what I was doing, why it mattered. By the time I sold it, my daughter thought I'd spent my life fixing air conditioners. I paused. She had no idea what I'd actually built. The room was silent. That's on me. I was humble to a fault. Didn't want to brag. Didn't want to make it about money. But silence has a cost. The people you love should know what you've accomplished. Not to impress them, but so they understand who you are. I saw Brad stand up. He walked quickly toward the exit. Richard Caldwell watched him go, confused. One more question, Patricia said. I pointed to a man in the middle. What are you working on now? Nothing. I'm retired. Spending time with family. Or trying to. I smiled. Turns out that's harder than building a company. Laughter. Thank you all for listening. I stepped back from the microphone. The applause was thunder. People stood. 800 pharmaceutical sales professionals giving me a standing ovation. I walked off stage. Patricia grabbed my arm. That was incredible. People are going to talk about that keynote for years. Thank you. Can you stick around? Some folks want to meet you, take photos. Of course. I spent an hour shaking hands, answering questions, taking selfies with people who wanted proof they'd met the blue-collar innovator. Richard Caldwell approached, extended his hand. Walter Mitchell, Richard Caldwell, Regional VP. Nice to meet you. That was one hell of a talk. Richard smiled. I had no idea we had royalty in the audience. Johnson Controls is one of our biggest clients. Small world. Listen. Richard lowered his voice. One of my sales reps just left. Brad Sullivan. You know him? We've met. He looked sick when he left. Pale. Like he'd seen a ghost. Richard studied me. Everything okay? I have no idea. I hope he's all right. Richard nodded slowly. Yeah, me too. But his eyes said he was putting pieces together. Well, great to meet you, Walter. If you're ever in Kansas City, look me up. I'd love to pick your brain about some things. I'll do that. Richard walked away. I saw him on his phone, probably texting Brad. I left the ballroom, took the elevator to my room. My phone buzzed. Emma. Dad, Brad just called. He's freaking out. He says you were at his conference? He says you're some kind of millionaire? What's going on? I sat on the hotel bed, looked out the window at Chicago, typed. I gave a keynote speech for a conference I agreed to 6 months ago, before your mother died, before I forgot about everything that wasn't grief. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That you sold a company, that Forbes wrote about you, that you're... Dad, Brad says you're worth millions. Is that true? I could lie, downplay it, go back to being the humble maintenance worker, or I could tell the truth. Yes, the dots appeared for a long time. How much? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Dad, I had no idea. You've been living in that little house, driving that old truck. I thought you were just getting by on a pension and some savings. I'm comfortable. Comfortable? Dad, Brad says you sold your company for $34 million. That's not comfortable. That's rich. It was a long time ago. Why didn't you tell me? I thought about that, really thought about it. Because I didn't want it to change anything, I typed. I didn't want you to see me differently. I wanted to just be your dad. But you let me think. God, Dad, I asked you for money multiple times, and you acted like it was this huge decision, like you had to review your finances. It was a decision. But you have millions. Yes, I do, and that money is mine to manage however I see fit. The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. Brad feels like an idiot. He should. Dad. Emma. Brad called me a worthless old fool. In public. He said I'd never amounted to anything. He hung up on me. He treated me with contempt because he thought I was poor and powerless. He didn't mean, yes, he did. He meant every word, and the only reason he's upset now is because he found out he was wrong. Not because he was cruel, but because he miscalculated. No response. I gave you $85,000 for your house, $30,000 for foundation work, $3,000 for this conference. I paid for dinners, birthday checks, helped whenever you asked. But I'm not an ATM, Emma. I'm your father, and I deserved basic respect regardless of my bank balance. Still no response. If Brad wants to apologize, really apologize, he can call me. Until then, I need space. I put my phone on silent. I flew home Sunday. The house was exactly as I'd left it. Dark, quiet. The porch light still burned out. I changed the bulb. Should have done it weeks ago. Monday morning, Emma called. I let it ring. She called again at noon. Left a voicemail. Dad, please, we need to talk. Brad wants to apologize. He's mortified. He had no idea. Please call me back. I didn't. Tuesday, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Emma's handwriting. Dad, I don't know what to say. I've been crying for 2 days. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I didn't know what you accomplished. I'm sorry I didn't ask more about your life, your work, your success. I'm sorry I let Brad treat you that way. I should have defended you. I should have shut it down immediately. I was a coward, and I'm ashamed. You've given me so much. Not just money, time, love, support. And I repaid you by treating you like a backup plan, someone to call when we needed something. That's not okay. You deserve better. Brad is devastated. His boss asked him why he left the keynote. When Brad explained you're his father-in-law, Richard was shocked. Brad's convinced he's ruined his career. That Richard thinks he's an ungrateful jerk who disrespects industry legends. But more than that, Brad is ashamed. Really ashamed. He keeps saying he can't believe what he said to you, that he'll never forgive himself. I know you need space. I respect that. But please don't disappear from my life. You're all I have left of Mom. I can't lose you too. I love you. I'm sorry. Emma. I read it 3 times, then set it on the kitchen table. The table Sarah and I picked out 30 years ago. Wednesday, my doorbell rang. Brad stood on my porch. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Eyes red. "Walter, please, can I talk to you?" I didn't invite him in, just stood in the doorway. "5 minutes," I said. "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. What I said, there's no excuse. I was wrong about everything. You're not worthless. You're not a fool. Jesus, you're incredible. And I was too stupid and arrogant to see it." I didn't respond. Richard Caldwell called me, asked why I walked out on your keynote. When I told him you're my father-in-law, he couldn't believe it. He said you're a legend, that every HVAC engineer in the country knows your name, that Johnson Controls still uses your designs. Brad's hands were shaking. He asked how I treated you, and I had to tell him the truth, that I'd been disrespectful, dismissive, and Richard said that tells him everything he needs to know about my character. I waited. I'm not getting the promotion. Richard said anyone who treats a man like you with contempt doesn't deserve to move up. That success without humility is worthless. Brad's voice broke. He was right. "Is that why you're sorry?" I asked. "Because it cost you a promotion?" "No. God, no. I'm sorry because I was cruel to someone who's been nothing but generous. I'm sorry because I judged you without knowing anything about you. I'm sorry because I'm exactly the kind of person I always said I'd never be." He wiped his eyes. "Emma won't talk to me. She's furious. She said I embarrassed her, that I treated her father like garbage, that she's ashamed to be married to me." "Good," I said. Brad looked up, shocked. "She should be ashamed. You were awful, not just to me, to her too. You treated her concerns about my feelings like they were inconvenient. You called her too soft. You said I was a burden." "I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you're sorry you got caught. Sorry you miscalculated. Not sorry you were cruel." "That's not—" Brad stopped. "Maybe you're right. Maybe that's part of it. But Walter, I swear, I've been lying awake thinking about what I said, how I said it, the look on your face, and I feel sick." "You should. I know." He looked at his shoes. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say I'm sorry, and that you were right. About everything. I was entitled, selfish, disrespectful, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." I stood there, this man on my porch, the man who'd called me worthless. "I gave you that money because I love my daughter," I said. "Not because I liked you. And definitely not because I thought you deserved it. I didn't deserve it, any of it. No, you didn't." I paused. "But Emma did, and that's why I helped." Brad nodded. Didn't argue. "If you want my forgiveness, you're going to have to earn it. Not with words, with time, with how you treat Emma, with whether you become the man you should have been from the start. I will. I promise." "Promises are cheap, Brad. Show me." He wiped his eyes again. "Thank you for listening. That's more than I deserve." I watched him walk to his car, drive away. Then I closed the door, stood in my entryway. The house was still quiet, still empty, still just me. But something felt different. Emma called that night. "Dad?" "Hi, Emma. Brad came to see you." "Yes. He said you were fair, that you called him out but gave him a chance." "I did. Thank you." She was crying. "Thank you for not slamming the door in his face. I would have understood if you had." "Emma, no. Let me say this. I've been a terrible daughter. I took you for granted. I let Brad disrespect you. I treated you like a bank instead of a father, and I'm ashamed." "Emma, Mom would be so disappointed in me." Her voice broke completely. "She loved you so much. She was so proud of what you built, and I didn't even bother to ask about it. I just assumed, I don't know what I assumed, that you were just Dad, and that was enough." "It was enough," I said quietly. "No, it wasn't. You deserved better. You deserved a daughter who asked about your life. Who knew what you accomplished? Who defended you? Emma, look at me. I paused. I'm looking at you right now in my mind, and I'm telling you, I love you. I'm not mad at you. I'm hurt, but I love you. I love you too, Dad. Your mother would be proud of you. You're kind, smart, beautiful. You made one mistake. You picked a man who needed to grow up, but you're making him grow up. That's good. I don't know if he can. Then leave him, but give him a chance first. She laughed through tears. Okay. And Emma, come visit. Not to see the foundation work, not to show me the house, just to visit, have dinner, talk. I will, I promise. Okay. Dad? Yeah. What was it like, building that company? I smiled. It was hard and scary, and the best thing I ever did besides marry your mother and raise you. Will you tell me about it, someday? Anytime you want. Okay, good, she sniffled. I'm glad you're my dad. I'm glad you're my daughter. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table. The good coffee cups were in the cabinet, Sarah's favorites, the white ones with blue trim. I took one down, made coffee, drank it while it was still hot. The house was quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. My phone buzzed. Richard Caldwell. Walter, great to meet you Saturday. Quick question. Would you be interested in consulting work? We're expanding into new markets and could use someone with your expertise. Let's talk. Richard. I typed back. Richard, thanks for the offer. Let me think about it. Walter. He responded immediately. Take your time. Also, I moved Brad Sullivan to a different team. Away from me. Figured you should know. I stared at that message. Brad had lost his shot at promotion, lost his mentor, because he'd been cruel to me. Part of me felt satisfied. Justice served. But another part, the part that remembered being young and stupid and desperate to prove myself, felt something else. I typed, Richard, I appreciate that, but don't ruin his career over this. He's young, he made a mistake, give him a chance to fix it. Richard responded, You're more generous than I'd be, but okay, I'll keep an eye on him. Thanks. One more thing. Your keynote was killer. Best we've had in 5 years. People are still talking about it. Glad it landed. You ever want to speak again? Let me know. We'd pay well. I smiled. I'll think about it. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, put it back in the cabinet. Then I walked through my house. The house Sarah and I built a life in. The house I'd paid off decades ago. The house that had witnessed 40 years of marriage and love and loss. It was just a house. But it was my house. And I was more than just an old man living alone. I was Walter Mitchell, the blue-collar innovator, the man who built something from nothing, who refused to stay in his lane, who proved that success doesn't require pedigree or permission. Brad had called me worthless, but Forbes had called me a pioneer. I knew which one was true. If you like this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.